Hi, Yasu. I have a few questions to ask you. So, I mean,
Of course.
yeah, as one of the largest VC and influential leaders in the crypto space, can you give us a little more like story about how you built Animoca brands or like some inspirational stories for people who right now are in the market and started to lose hope or maybe already losing hope in this like dark days?
Well, okay. So first of all, I mean, I think that generally what we tell people is that think of why you entered the space, and I think this is also a good reason to think about sort of who are the true builders versus who are not really the ones who are the true builders, right? So if you look at the story of FTX, the story of FTX is really just greed, avarice, and basically sort of selfishness, right? It was all about really power. It was really just and if you look at the history, the background, now you think about it, how did SPF get interested in crypto? Because he saw arbitrage for the price of Bitcoin between what he described as a kimchi premium, right? Okay. That's how he started. So what was his motivation? His motivation was money. That's it. Which meant that every path and decision he took thereafter was really just about how do I make more money? So how do I get more power through that money? That is a wrong motivation, but that's a motivation. People who do it for money don't actually care about the purpose or the mission, because frankly, you can make money in many different ways, right? And it creates these problems that we've seen before. I mean, the problem of three arrows, in some ways, it appears to be the problem for Terra. It's all about the problem of money, right? It's not a problem of vision, it's a problem of money. So what I tell founders is like, sort of remind yourself why you went in this space. It's the same thing with the internet as well. Back in the days of the internet, if you were just interested in making money, you left as quickly as the industry fell into trouble. But the true builders believed in their purpose of what they're building, right? Am I connecting people? Am I sort of creating, a better framework for society? Am I facilitating trade? Am I bringing more equity to people around the world? In terms of, what's the mission? What's the purpose? Am I trying to make it more fun, right? And so if you define, and if you're very clear why you are joining Web3, why you're building a decentralized infrastructure, then frankly, whatever trouble you have right now is just momentary. Because you know that what you're building is bigger than money, right? But if you're only doing this for money, I have no answer for you. I'm sorry.
Okay. It's okay.
Because it's tough, right? It's really tough, right? Because the pathway of doing so, and that's why you see some investors are like running away because they don't know how to make money. But in our case, we are still investing, not because it's obviously it's a risk, right, in this market, but because we say, well, where do we think the industry will be in 10 years or 5 years? Then it doesn't matter, even if we don't get the best entry price, because we need to develop where it goes, right? Which is what we did, back when we invested in OpenSea and Dapper Labs and Axie Infinity and all those companies in 2018, 2019, right? I mean, there was nothing, right? And also, VCs also, many didn't invest because they couldn't see it, because again, their purpose is different. So for builders, your purpose and your mission, I would say, is the first North Star you should look for. And it may change, but as long as you know what it is, I think it's a very big mission, and it's very important. If you think about back in the days when people were building the internet in the early days, that's they weren't just building it for themselves; they were building it for a better future, open source, for like sharing of information, right? Yes, you build a product. Yes, you want to obviously be successful, but your impact was not going to just be for you. It was going to be for everyone in the internet, right? And for Web3, it's the same. If you actually, you don't just benefit yourself. You benefit every participant that you're supporting, right? And so maybe, here's the other thing. Maybe the business that you build won't be the most successful. Maybe it might not be successful. But the knowledge and skill that you generate from this activity will set you up for other opportunities, right? I mean, if you look at the founder journey of many of the Web 1, Web 2 entrepreneurs as well, they didn't have instant success on their first startup, right? It goes through a cycle, right? But then after the many years in which they tried this thing, that thing, they have this experience, and they're still building in Web3. You know, like when we back founders, we, as long as they are true and earnest founders, you know, maybe the first one didn't work, we'll back their second and third startup because, you know, it's knowledge and experience that you can take forward as well. And you see this as well, right? As long as you're ethical. I mean, I think it's crazy that some guys are also trying to raise money. That to me is crazy, right? but for the true founders of that, I think you know, just know why you're doing it. I think you'll be fine.
I see. Wow, nice. That's a good answer. That's a good answer. I mean, I have two more questions for you. So, I mean, right now we have a very high uncertainty in the market, and then right now, I mean, the uncertainty is all around, like in the traditional finance, in the crypto market, which is in like bear market right now. So, what is, and then that's a lot of FAT, FTX and thing. So, what is your investment thesis or investment strategy in times like this?
Yeah, so first, you know, for us, the mission is digital property rights. So everything is centered around enabling them. So we look for investment opportunities, and we we're also building, right? We're also an operator for things that will enhance and grow the mission, which means anything that adds to network effects, so like NFTs, because to us NFTs represent digital property rights, or that can bring mass adoption, right? Obviously, as a business, you know, you need to have runway of cash, right? So that's obviously let's say the typical stuff. But the macro things, we're looking for basically these things, which also means that we're looking for founders who believe in building digital property rights in an open manner. So this is very important. You know, like when you talk to people about investing in what they call the metaverse, well, you can invest in all kinds of metaverses. You can invest in a metaverse like Meta, right, like Facebook, or you can invest in a metaverse like a new game that is a closed ecosystem. We will never do that because our belief is in what we call the shared network effect, which means that if you build in an open system, whatever investment we give it to you will ultimately benefit the entire network, in which we have also sort of exposure because we have over 380 portfolio companies. That means each benefit of us investing in the ecosystem will benefit basically through a kind of third order effect, you know, whatever else we're building in their ecosystem. Now, this is a very different philosophy, I think, for most investors, because many investors came from Web 2. And in Web 2, the way to win is the zero-sum outcome. You want to back the winner, right? It's the one guy that will basically kill everyone else and then, you know, home run, right? So we don't believe in that. And the reason we don't believe in that also is, I mean, outside of the philosophical aspect, is that actually the ethical aspect is the fact that in Web3, we think you can't really build a monopoly. So when you build a monopoly, you have to own, you know, basically you have to have monopoly of the resource. But in blockchain, the monopoly of the resource is on-chain. So you don't have a monopoly, right? So if you're going to, for instance, let's say, you know, OpenSea. I mean, we invest in many marketplaces, but, you know, we were one of the first investors in OpenSea. It's done very well for us. But there's no guarantee that you know, the number one all the time, because you can access every OpenSea customer anytime you want. You can just say, hey, you traded on OpenSea. If I know you bought a Bored Ape on OpenSea, I will give you a bonus if you know, trade on my platform, right? I mean, that's like Alibaba saying, I can go after every Amazon customer. Or that's like Amazon saying, I can go after every Alibaba customer, right? And any other third party can come and say, I can do that too, right? So what happens is more competition. What happens is, actually, it's better for the customer. It's basically like an automatic antitrust almost, right? And so if that's true, which is what we believe in, then it means that we need to invest only in things that build open. We cannot invest in anything that's closed. And even if we make an investment that doesn't create a direct return in the equity of the project, it will further and fuel our ecosystem, which will give us a net return overall. Right? Like an economy, like, you know, when governments do spending, deficit spending in the construction of roads or something like that, you know, creating jobs isn't actually isn't going to sort of, you know, increase the return of equity of the investment, but it returns GDP value and therefore other kinds of value increases, which then improves the companies in question of that particular economy. Right? We've always said that we view blockchain, layer 1, layer 2s, and the metaverse in economic sort of GDP factors. We don't view them in profit and loss factors, right? So that's the high level in terms of our how we look at investment strategy. So for instance, there's a common term that people talk about, which is Web 2.5. Right? We understand because you have to bring people from Web 2 to Web 3. But the issue is, what kind of Web 2.5 are you? Are you 2.4 or are you 2.6? Right?
Okay.
There are people in the right. There's a lot of Web 2 guys who want to take the money from Web 3 but control Web 2. That's bad. We don't want that. But then there's the ones who want to onboard people from Web 2, like the Web 2.6 guys, who actually then want to move them to Web 1. We can support them.
I see. Wow.
So it comes a lot from a thinking, which by the way isn't always easy to know, because you get a business plan, you're Web 2.5, you're like, okay, I don't know which side of the Web 2.5 you are. The only way you can figure that out is to talk to them, to understand the philosophy, to understand the team's philosophy, right? Games, particularly Web 2.5 games, have this problem because Web 2 is very controlling. And many of them just, we see this problem in Korea with Remix. I just came from Korea before I got to Taipei. And there was this big scandal with Remix and, We Made and so on, right? And it was very clear that actually what happened was because, the company, in this case We Made, was really 2.4, or maybe never really 3.0 anyway. They were just looking at tokens as the way to just make as much money as they can, right? Not as a community benefit, and to extract as much value for shareholders as opposed to its community. So this is obviously not Web3, but it's the way people think as well. And so for us, we have to sort of make sure that we back the right projects. Those companies, unfortunately, take from the ecosystem, right? They don't care. Companies who believe in that shared network effect.